going on, everybody? Scalz311 here, and this is Shadows of Brimstone board game, one of my favorite board games. And I was going to start doing some videos of it here. And yeah, so I got stuff set up to get started already. I'm not going to go over the rules too much. I guess I'll go over them as I play, so there's not a whole video on the rules. There's a lot to this game. So what I'm going to do is introduce the characters that I'm going to be playing with. So first we have the US Marshall here, who's Scalz, of course, because I have no imagination for names. He is one of the two characters I'll be playing with. So you see his picture here. All these stats come into play when you do like saves in the game. You have agility, cunning, spirit, strength, lore, and luck. The number is how many dice you roll, and you normally have a number to beat to make your save. So he gets 3 dice for agility. Usually you have to beat like a 5 or more on a 6-sider, so the more dice you have, obviously, the better. His initiative is 4. His ability is double shot. He uses a shotgun. So once per turn, when you kill an enemy with a shotgun, you gain +1 shot with that shotgun. So it's pretty sweet. He can kind of combo up and kill multiple enemies. He starts with that shotgun and his US Marshall Badge, which gives him an ability to help once an adventure to help the group get more, have a chance to hit more enemies. He has a combat of 2. Combat means that's how many dice you roll for a melee attack. He gets 2 grit. Grit is used to give you rerolls and things of that nature. He has a ranged and melee of 4, so that means when he rolls to hit enemies, he has to get a 4 or more to successfully hit them. 10 health. With 3 defense, meaning that when he has to defend against an attack, he needs a 3 or more to block it. 10 sanity and 4 willpower, so he needs a 4 or more to block sanity damage. And that is him. He starts with the shotgun, like we said. So he has he gets 5 range with this thing, 1 shot. Use a D8 though to roll with it, and normally you get a crit on a 6. With a D6 die on most weapons. But with the shotgun, a 6, 7, or 8 is a crit. So this is a pretty nasty weapon. It could be good. The US Marshall Badge that he starts with here says that once per adventure, give all heroes +2 shots with a gun or +2 combat. They choose during the next activation. So it's a one-time thing. Each character gets an ability to start with, 1 of 3. So I took Rolling Thunder for him. Anytime you kill an enemy, you may recover a grit on a roll of 4, 5, or 6. So that could be nice to keep his grit up. Everybody starts with a random personal item. So he gets a bear claw. Once per turn, you may re-roll a single willpower roll. So that's to save on sanity stuff. And then he also gets an old lantern, which one of the people have to have the lantern. They're the ones who make the hold back the darkness rolls that we'll be talking about, and everybody needs to be within the tile, 2 tiles or 1 tile of the person with the lantern, or else they start taking damage. And then everybody starts with a side bag, and they get 1 item between a dynamite, bandage, or a whiskey. I gave him a dynamite. And then his partner is the Indian Scout. Mingan. I looked up some Indian names. Mingan is Algonquin for gray wolf, and wolves are pretty much my favorite animal, so I went with the wolf. So this is Mingan. We'll just probably call him Gray Wolf for most of the game. Quick look at his stats: agility 3, cunning 2, spirit 3, strength 2, lore 3, luck 2, 5 initiative. He's pretty fast. He's a tracker. Once per adventure, you make discard and redraw an exploration token or encounter card, which could be very useful. He also has +1 move all the time. He starts with a carbine and an Indian hatchet. He also has 2 combat for melee hits, 2 grit, a range 4 and 4 for melee and range each. 10 health, 4 defense. He's a little harder to dodge with than the Marshal. 10 sanity, 4 willpower. That's the same. So he starts with his carbine, which has 8 range, and you get 3 shots. It's pretty nice. He also has his Indian hatchet here, which he gets +1 damage on all his combat, so melee attacks. So that's pretty sweet. I gave him Savage Attack, so he can use a grit to gain +2 combat until the end of the turn. So he would get, instead of 2 dice to a hit with melee attacks, he would get 4 dice if he spends a grit. And his random item was the Adventure Boots, which gives him +1 agility and +1 move. So his agility goes from 3 to 4. And then his side item is bandages, which is useful for healing people. And what I'm going to be using, because there's a lot of stat keeping in this game, I'm going to be using this app that I found for my iPhone, which you can actually use to keep track of all the stats, what's in their bags, their items, their abilities, their injuries. So the thing that you got to always keep track of in this game is the experience, the Darkstone, and the money, like all the time. So it's nice to have this app. It works really well. So it's a free app for iOS. I don't know if it's on Android or not. It may be. But it's nice. And the adventure I'm going to start with is the basic one, because our guys are level 1 and they're just starting out. So the basic, for our first game in the mine, we're going to do this first game one. So it's kind of a easier version of the normal first mission. And there's a difficulty scaling, so for 2 heroes, you pull low threats and you get a revive token, which is a way to get back if somebody gets knocked out. Because getting knocked out in this game is very, very possible. Because it's not an easy game. So we get a revive token for the group. So the first person gets knocked out, we use the revive token, they get to stand back up right away. Okay, so let's get going here. So the story between these guys is that Scalz was a marshal and he was out on patrol one day, or out doing marshally things, and he he heard a noise, went into the woods nearby, and came across an Indian scout fighting a bear and was having trouble with it. He came in and helped him kill the bear. They became fast friends after that. That's where the bear claw came from here, from that bear that they killed together. So then Mingin, Grey Wolf, and him has now become friends, and now they are working together to try to help Brimstone from the evilness that is taking over. So that's my little background story. Okay, so let's just go through the first game here. For your first game, a couple of slightly more advanced elements would be left out to make it easier to get the hang of things. Epic threat, boss fights, and gates to other worlds will not be used. Okay. So if we get an encounter card, gateway to another world drawn, we redraw. So a Fistful of Darkstone is the first mission that we're doing here. The heroes have heard a rumor of a vast deposit of Darkstone buried in one of the local mines and have come to find their fortune. To find the Darkstone deposit, the heroes must explore the mine and find 2 exploration tokens with clue icons on them. The first clue lets them know they're on the right track, while the second clue is the actual deposit itself. When the second clue icon is revealed, ignore any encounter or attack on the token as well as any door icons. The objective room has no exits. Instead, the heroes must draw a high threat card to fight, as a large group of creatures has been attracted by the Darkstone. And if we kill all the enemies in the final room, we've completed the mission and may collect as much of the Darkstone as they can find. Each hero gains 25 XP and D3 Darkstone. Okay, so that's the mission. So the way this game works, order-wise, the first thing you do is hold back the darkness. So this is the darkness track here. And the darkness track has two things on it. So this is the darkness, and every time we fail to hold back the darkness, this ticks down. Every time it goes on a blood splat, we have to draw a darkness card. Every time it goes on a growing dread, we have to draw a growing dread card. And if it ever gets all the way to the end, we lose because the darkness has left the mine and we didn't stop it. Every time we pull a new room tile, this yellow one goes down. We're going deeper into the mine. And in the beginning, we need to roll 7 or more on 2 6-siders to hold the darkness back. But as we get deeper and we cross over these thresholds, then we have to roll an 8 or higher and then a 9 or higher. So in the beginning, the first thing you always do on a turn is hold the darkness back. So the first thing we do is roll. We need a 7 or more. and we rolled an 8. So we held the darkness back, so that's a good start. So now character activation goes in initiative order. So Grey Wolf has a 5 initiative, and Scalz has a 4 initiative. So Grey Wolf goes first. You roll to move in this game. You roll a die. That's how many spaces you can move. If you roll a 1, you can get a grit back. The maximum grit both our characters can have at this time is 2. So they each have 1 to start the game with. And remember, Grey Wolf has +1 to move because he's fast all the time. So he rolls a 1 to start with. So we instantly get a grit back for Grey Wolf. So he gets a grit token here. And he gets to move 2 spaces because he can move 1, but he gets +1 move. So he's going to move 2 spaces. Alright, so there's 2 things you can do on your turn after you move. You could scavenge the tile you're on, which means you're looking for certain, to find some items. Or you can look into the next room. But to look into the next room, you actually have to be on the edge of the tile. So since he's only right here, he's going to scavenge. When you scavenge, you roll 3 dice, and any 6s are success. And he gets a 5, 2, and a 3, so he fails, so his turn's over. Now we move on to Scalz. He gets a 1 as well. Wow, these guys are moving slow. So he gets a grit back. He doesn't have +1 to move, so he only moves 1 space. Alright, well he's going to scavenge as well. And he gets 1/6. So 1/6 means that you get to scavenge the tile. So you take this little scavenge icon here, and you place it on the tile. The tile can only be scavenged once. Once one of the characters scavenges it, you can't do it again. And what you do for scavenges is you take the scavenge deck and you shuffle it up every time. It doesn't have a discard pile. So every time you use this, you shuffle it up, draw a card, and there's some good and bad in here too. Sometimes there's things that can hurt you, but so let's see what we get. We got nothing here. I'm having trouble. I want to make sure I can get these cards in places you can see them. I'm kind of sitting off to the side. Yeah, nothing here. The room appears to have nothing of value. 10 XP. So even though there's nothing here, we still got 10 XP. Alright, so we do a quick shuffle of the deck. The scavenge and the loot decks get shuffled every time. The rest of the decks, once they're shuffled, which they have been, then they stay that way. So 10 XP for Scalz. Alright, so that's the end of the round. We didn't get to the end, so the tile's been scavenged, so we roll for the darkness again. So you want to kind of move in this game because the more that you roll for darkness, the farther this comes down, the harder it gets. So you want to try to get to the edge of tiles if you can move, but... So we get a 5, so that means we failed our darkness roll. So this goes down to 1, and it's creeping along. Alright, Grey Wolf gets a 2, which is a 3 for him, so he still can't get to the edge of the tile. So he's going to just stay there, I guess. Scalz is going to roll, and he gets a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he gets to the edge. Now, Grey Wolf, remember, couldn't scavenge on his turn because this tile already was. So he just had nothing to really do. So Scalz could look into the end of the map tile here, and I think he will, to get moving. It's a good idea a lot of times to close off areas like this so the enemies can't get around you, but we don't want to take too long doing this. Alright, so Scalz is going to look into the room, basically it's called. So when you do that, you take the deck for the world you're in. We're in the mine world, so we take the mine deck and we draw a card from it. And we get the boiler room. So I have to find the boiler room, and I'll be right back. Alright, so we got the boiler room here. So the room cards show the way the tile connects, and then it has numbers for the rooms. That's how you know when you flip over the exploration tile how many doors there are. So if we look at the boiler room, it goes like that. It connects in this way. So we're going to move this out of the way, connect this room to this room. Put our hero back on here. Now since Scalz is actually on the connector, he's on both rooms when you're like that. So that's where he's at. And then we grab the top of the exploration tokens here when you find a new room and throw it in the middle. And that's what you do, at least for now. There's also the advanced game, which we'll do eventually. I'm not doing yet, where if you find a room like this, you find an encounter card that resembles that room. But for the first video, I think we're going to chill on that, just to begin with. Okay, so Scalz found the new room. He's second, so his turn's done. So now that both of the characters did their activation, we get to flip over the tile, the exploration token, and see what it is. And it's an ambush attack. That's not good. Ambush attacks means we're basically going to get separated on our attack. So you see here it says ambush attack. So it also has 2 door icons on the top, if you can see that. Yeah, 2 doors. So that means 2 of these 3 passageways are actually doorways. 1 is closed off. So this card has the numbers 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, and we roll. It's like this. We roll to see what doorway is closed off. Roll a 2, so the top one here is closed off. The other 2 ways are open. So find the little closed off tile, close that doorway off. And now we have an ambush attack to worry about. So that's a rough start for us. So in a 2-player game, you use the low threat cards, which says right here 1 to 2 heroes. I reshuffled everything, so it's good to go. So you take the top card, and we get P Hellbats. That's a peril die worth of Hellbats to fight. Alright, so we gotta get our guys and get ready to go here. So a P peril die of Hellbats. So the peril die is this one. There's 2 3s, 2 4s, a 5, and a 6. So the least we can roll is a 3. The most we can roll is 6 on one of these. And we get a 4. So we got 4 Hellbats to worry about. I'm going to go grab them and be right back. Okay, so here's what the Hellbats look like. Pretty scary looking things. Pretty cool. And they're coming on the board. There's 4 of them in an ambush. So the ambush means that they get right next to the characters. If it's not an ambush, there's a specific way that you place the enemies. But for ambushes, they go right around them. And there has to be an equal amount on the characters. And you usually try to get from behind them first, so you can allow others to come in from the front. So it doesn't really matter here technically. They're each going to get 1 in the beginning. So we'll put 1 on Scalz behind them, and then 1 on Grey Wolf. And then the second one on Scalz will go right here, because the one behind Grey Wolf can go diagonally to him like that. So that's what we're going to have to deal with here. So there's 2 on Grey Wolf, 2 on Scalz. And that's that. So now every character in the game, every enemy in the game, sorry, let me get this up a little bit so we can zoom in a little bit farther. And we can see a little bit more what's going on here. Every character in the game has a sheet that explains the enemies. So for Hellbats, they're demons and void. They're medium sized. They have an initiative 6, so they're very fast. They have flight, so they move through other models. Normally, you can't move through another model. And they change targets each turn, which is actually different. Most enemies, once they have a target, they stay on that target unless the target moves away, and then they get to a new target. They're also nightmarish. For every hit done by a Hellbat, the hero also takes 1 horror hit, so that's pretty rough. They have a move of 12, so they can go across the map really fast. An escape of 3+. If you want to get away from these guys, you have to roll 3 or more to try to get away from them. They have no range. They have a 3+ melee, which means they hit on a roll of 3 or more. They get 3 combat dice, which is quite a bit. They roll 3 dice, and then every 3 or more is a hit, and every hit they do is 1 damage. They have 2 defense, which means every time we hit them, they subtract 2 from the damage we do, unless it's a crit. Crits go through defense for us, but they only have 1 health. So we basically need to roll 3 to hit them, and they're dead. Go, 2 gets away, 1 health, and they're worth 10 XP. Now this elite chart happens when you guys start leveling it up more, and there are a couple other reasons when these elite chart can come up. You would roll and give them additional abilities to make them harder. But for now, they're just regular enemies. Alright, so let's get going. So they have, when you have an ambush attack, the enemies actually get +2 to their initiative for the first round because they surprise you. So they have an initiative of 8, which is higher than both of our guys. Actually, their initiative 6 would still be higher than both our guys. And if the enemies, the monsters, and the hero ever tie on initiative, the monster always goes first. So we're going to start with, we'll start most things with Scalz because he's kind of like the first player here, even though he's lower on initiative, but still, we'll start with him. So there's 2 on him. They each get 3 dice. Every attack is 3 dice. So basically we can roll 6 dice right off the bat to speed it up, because each hit is 3 dice. We roll 6 dice, anything 3 or more is a hit. And that is a bad start. That is 5 hits on Scalz. So he gets to defend now. So for every hit that an enemy takes, or every hit that the hero takes, he rolls a die for each hit. So you've got hit 5 times, he gets 5 dice to block. And every 3 or more that he gets blocks these hits. And he rolls 4 blocks and one gets through. So he actually takes only 1 damage, which is pretty good considering he got hit for 5. Alright, throw that on his health. And now, same thing for Grey Wolf. He's got 2 on him, so that's 6 dice. Oh, actually, because they're nightmarish, since Scalz took a hit, let me see this. For every hit done by a Hellbat, the hero also takes 1 horror hit. So that's a hit. So he actually takes 5 horror hits. Wow, that's rough. Holy cow. It's not every, damage, it's every hit. So he has to roll, Scalz has to roll 5 horror hits. He can re-roll a single willpower roll. That's not a single die, it's a roll, so he could re-roll this if it's bad. He needs 4 or more to block the horror hits. And he blocks 4 of them, so he takes 1 horror hit, which means he takes 1 sanity damage also. Okay. So these guys are rough with that. So I tend to forget some of these extra abilities, so hopefully I don't do that. Okay, so now Grey Wolf has got 6 hits coming his way too. 3 or more hits. 3 hits on him, so he gets to roll 3 dice to block. 4 more blocks. He blocks all of them. Nice. 2 4s and a 6. But he also gets 3 horror hits. He's got a block. And he blocks 2 of them. Takes 1 horror hit. So he gets 1 sanity damage also. Alright. Okay, so the Hellbats. Oh, you know what I didn't do properly already? I screwed up once. After you flip the token, the turn actually ends. And you need to hold the darkness back before the fight starts. So I gotta do that real quick. So this is going back before their turn, technically. Got a 9, so we were good. We held the darkness back. So then the attacks happened. Now it is the Indian Scout Grey Wolf's turn. So he's going to use his Indian Hatchet, I think. He's right next to the guys, and he's going to use a Grit to use his Savage Attack ability. If you remember his Savage Attack, he can use 1 Grit to gain +2 combat until the end of the turn. So his combat's usually 4, so he has a 2, so now he's a 4 in combat, which means you can roll 4 dice. Every 4 or more is a hit. So first you roll the dice to see how many hits you get, and then you tell who you're going to hit and roll the damage. So you get to see what your hits are first. So if you get a crit, you can maybe crit a tougher enemy. You don't call the enemy before you roll, you do it after you roll. So 4 or more. That's 2 hits, so 1 is a 6, so 1 is a crit. So crit is automatic damage that goes through defense on pretty much every enemy but maybe a couple. So because of that, we don't actually have to roll this since these Hellbats have 1 health. no matter what we roll, we're going to get a 1. So this crit is an automatic kill on one of these Hellbats. So I think he's going to hit the one behind him here and take care of this guy. So that's our first kill in Brimstone. Nice. Which means that Grey Wolf gets 10 XP. Those guys are worth 10 XP apiece. Alright, and then he has his other hit that he still gets to roll. So he's going to hit the one in front of him here. So each guy only has one guy on him then. And he needs a 3 or more. And he gets a 3. Takes 2 off for the defense, leaving 1 hit, 1 health on this guy. So he gets knocked out too. So that's 20 XP right off the bat here for our boy. Good start for Grey Wolf. And now, I forgot to roll to move. Dang it. You should always roll to move, because if you roll a 1 before you're at the beginning of your turn, you can get a grit back. He was full grit at the time, and he wasn't going to move, so it's not a big deal. But I'll roll to move for Scalz. He rolls a 3. So he could technically try to escape these guys, but I think he's going to stay there, stay strong. He's going to turn around and shotgun this dude in the face, so he's going to attempt to. So with Scalz' shotgun, he gets a D8, remember, and he crits on a 6, 7, or 8. He needs a 4 or more to hit. And he rolls a 1, so he whiffs. He's going to use a grit. He has 2 grit. He's going to use 1. 8. That's a crit. So he's going to crit this one here, which means he automatically kills him, because he only has 1 health. So that's 10 XP for Scalz. Puts him up to 20. You need 500 XP to get to level 2. And Scalz' ability is once per turn, when you kill an enemy with a shotgun, you gain +1 shot, which means he gets to shoot again. So he's going after this guy. And he rolls an 8 again, which is a crit. So he takes out this guy too. So that is awesome. So that's 30 XP total for Scalz, 10 more. And these guys are well on their way to doing halfway decent, it looks like. Alright, so at the end of every fight, the first thing you do is you catch your breath, it's called. Each character rolls a D3, and they can get that much health and sanity back, whatever they roll. So Scalz rolls a 4, which is a 2 for a D3. So he's going to take 1 wound and 1 sanity away. And Grey Wolf is going to roll a 3. He only has sanity damage, so he takes that away. And then the next thing you do when you win a fight is you get loot cards. You get as many loot cards as has things that bring enemies into the fight. We had 1 card that brought in the enemy, so we get 1 loot card each. So Scalz' loot card is gold bars, which means he gets 250 gold, or dollars, and 20 XP. So he's up to 50 XP and $250. Nice. And Grey Wolf gets, this should come in handy, 20 XP. Puts him up to 40, and he gets to draw a gear card or an artifact if in another world, which we are not in another world. We're in the mines. We're in our world. So he gets a gear card. So gear cards could be items, weapons, a whole bunch of good stuff. So the gear card that he gets is a Dusty Poncho. +1 health, +1 sanity, ignore weather effects. That's pretty sweet. Let me double check that you can see the stuff when I hold it up. I hope so, because I'm kind of off to the side. +1 health, +1 sanity, yep, and ignore weather effects. So now he goes up from 10 and 11 health while he has his item, or 10 health, 10 sanity, to 11 health and 11 sanity, and he ignores weather effects. Weather effects come into play when you go into another world. Alright, good start for the boys. One thing I did forget, and I'm going to do it. If I forget a thing and I remember close enough, I'm going to do it. Scalz' Rolling Thunder ability. Every time he kills an enemy, he gets to recover a grit on a 4, 5, or a 6. He actually killed 2 enemies. So, if he gets a 5 or 6 on these 2 dice, he'll get a grit back. He got a 5 and a 6. But he can only carry 2 grit, so he gets 1 back. So that's nice. He can kill a lot of guys. with his shotgun, and I'm thinking that being able to get that grit back after he kills the guys every once in a while is going to be useful. All right, nice. So that is the our first fight. We did pretty good.